I'm Philip Stoughton. Welcome to the EMS India podcast. I'm joined by Murthy Munipalli from InCap in India, and of course Otto Pukk, who everybody knows, also from InCap, Global President and CEO. Otto, before we get to you and talk a little bit about why you selected India and the role of India in your global strategy, I wanted to start with an introduction from Murthy, because our viewers know you very well, Otto, but Murthy's perhaps new to them. Give me a little bit about your background and kind of what brought you to InCap and the role you play there.
I came to InCap in the year 2008. I was working for a large semiconductor design company prior to this, and prior to that, I was working for another semiconductor industry. So basically, coming into a manufacturing industry in 2008 was some kind of a strategic shift, I would say, for my career, because I was involved in selling these ASIC design services. And then I thought it's a good career progression for me to move from there into an EMS company where we actually use these semiconductor components, the microcontrollers and all these things. So I thought it's a good opportunity because this came as a chance meeting with the then managing director of InCap India, a Finnish gentleman. So I bumped into him, and then, we were just talking casually, and then it resulted in me joining this company way back in 2008. So it's been very eventful, satisfying, I would say, at the end. 19 years now, and going strong.
Yeah, it's a substantial amount of time, isn't it? And just give me a little bit of the evolution, the background to evolution and the scale that you have at InCap India there now.
Well, in 2008, when I joined, we had acquired InCap India. We had acquired this unit, I would say, from TVS Electronics, which is actually an adjoining building. They're still operating. We acquired from TVS Electronics, which is an Indian conglomerate, lock, stock, and barrel. So their EMS division we took over in 2007, 1st of June, and I joined in April 2008. So that's like within 9-10 months of the acquisition, I joined this company, which was very, very small in size at the time. And we are just then trying to understand, how to do business in India. This was very new to us. And so it started off as a very small venture at that time, doing maybe a couple of million euros per month business, going all the way up to, we almost went up to 200 million in the year 2022. So you can imagine the exponential growth that InCap India has seen. In terms of the employees, also at that time, there were hardly 200, 300 people, and we had just one factory. And then now we have almost 35,000 square meters with 3 factories spread in this area of 15 acres and 2,000 plus people working here.
Yeah.
Another interesting statistic is that, we had one SMT line, very old, which we got as part of the acquisition. And then one old machine came from one of our units in Europe. So basically 2 old machines we have now 10 SMT lines, which are state of the art. And the latest 2 machines are AI driven and extremely fast machines with the twin engine, we would say, with that kind of capacity. So that's the evolution. And as I said, it was indeed a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, it's an exciting journey.
Extremely satisfying.
Yeah, and it kind of sits along the evolution of India in terms of manufacturing. We'll dig into that a little bit more. Otto, when we spoke recently, you pushed back on me mentioning the idea of India as a low-cost location. Instead, you talked about that engineering depth, the importance of India being a democracy. Expand on that a little bit for our Indian audience. And what does India actually bring to InCap's global capacity that perhaps other locations don't or could not?
No, as Murthy describes, we have significant operations in India today, and it's not a low cost operation. Of course, labor costs are lower in India than in Europe or other parts of the world, but yeah, we don't see it as a low cost hub. We do very qualified work there that our customers and we want to drive in India due to the location and the capabilities that there are. If you look in generally, our factory is in Tumkur, just an hour's drive from Bangalore, and Bangalore, the whole area currently are exploding. It's so much development in the area. You have big multinational companies that are coming there and establishing their design centers, their manufacturing in many cases, and company like us can really enjoy that development. So it's from that sense. It's of course our muscle as well in there with all the people there, and Murthy didn't mention we have 30 people in the kitchen working, so we have excellent canteen there, and so just to understand the magnitude of it, and also driving business in India, it's not so that you only run the factory. So Murthy has wastewater facilities, he has a solar park for electricity, he has big backup generators that are bigger than houses for in case the power goes. We have one doctor, 4 nurses full-time employed. We have an ambulance and a bus fleet, and it's like we tease Murthy sometimes. He's like a mayor of a small town. Or in that sense. So of course it's our muscle as well, but I would say that also the brain power very much in InCap is in India, and we have a lot of brilliant engineers and that are working and so and I think that the key thing, if we talk about the same thing like last time with India, is that India is quickly developing. You have 1.5 million engineers are graduating each year. Just as a contrast, I live in Estonia. There's a little bit less than 1.5 million people in Estonia, and all of these engineers that graduate every year are English speaking. They come from excellent schools, and the Indian government have been working very much on driving the education system so that they call it that the engineers should be industry ready. Of course, you are never industry ready, but at least the focus is on that they want to cater engineers to the industry and not to, like in many other countries, some kind of they rather focus on getting them into postgraduate programs or so than out in the industry. So India is a very exciting country to be, and also what I really like with India is that it's a democracy. There is clear rule of law, and the legal system and so is separated from government, and so even if there can be and I would say that we see it less and less, some kind of low-level corruption or so in so it's disappearing more and more. But even if that is, then if you go to court, eventually it might take you 9 years, but you will win if you have done everything correctly. And that is a huge difference between India and many other countries in Asia where low cost or how to say the manufacturing and so is done today, where there is totalitarian states, and in the end of the day you don't know if you own your factory tomorrow or not if the government decides something else. So India is a fantastic place and very interesting place to be.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Otto. And as a fellow European, I understand the importance of that democratic element, and I'm absolutely sure your customers understand the value and importance of those issues as well when they look at it. From your point of view, from where you sit, Murthy, how does that translate operational when you think of those capabilities? I love the analogy of you being the mayor of a small town. It does feel like that with your own ambulance and your own hospital and restaurants and those kind of services. That's quite distinct from other parts of the group. How do you see InCap India standing out within the group?
Well, Otto put it very, very nicely. The muscle is here. It's because of the engineering resources that we have here, abundant resources, quite intelligent guys. And we also have one important thing I would like to touch upon here is, even though we are just about 65 miles west of Bangalore city, which is called the Silicon Valley of India, our attrition rate at InCap India is very, very low compared to the industry. The very fact that our attrition rate is so low, especially at the executive and managerial level, gives us a lot of advantage over others, because the critical mass remains here, and the experience that we have here, for example, if you have to refer to some incident, say 8 years ago, there are guys who have actually have hands-on experience, who have worked, and immediately we can say, hey, we did this 8 years ago, lessons learned, we have a dossier for that. Now let's not do that again. I mean, these are some of the things that are priceless, I would say. So that's another advantage that we have here. And the third one, of course, is the kind of work we do. We are doing absolutely cutting edge technology work, and we are seeing traction, a lot of traction with a lot of American giants, I would say huge conglomerates, because recently we onboarded two massive American customers and doing some real cutting edge technology work for them. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to name them, you understand, because of the NDA restrictions, but it's extremely cutting edge technology work that we are doing. So this, I'm not saying other units are not doing, other units are definitely doing, but the sheer scale with which we are operating is completely mind-blowing.
Yeah, scale and complexity is really interesting. I think the comments you both made about talent are really exciting. When you think of the available talent, basically the population of Estonia graduating it every year as engineers is just a huge resource. But you've got to attract that and retain that, and that really speaks to what you're doing there in India, but also the importance of InCap's culture as a group, as a family, as a team. So I think that's hugely valuable. Just stepping back from InCap specifically, how would you characterize the growth trajectory of the EMS industry in India right now? What's driving it? And does the pace that we're currently experiencing, do you expect that to continue in the coming years? Is it we hear a lot of hype outside of India, but does it feel like that inside?
It does, because I tell you, this is a very interesting topic that we keep discussing. In my own experience, a few years ago, we were estimating from different industry forums and, through our discussions, we were saying the Indian EMS market, for example, is about 10 to 12 billion dollars. That's what I remember, discussing a few years ago. It has exponentially now grown up to 40-50 billion dollars. So that's the scale we are talking about. And eventually the predictions are that by 2030, we are going to be a 150 billion opportunity, US $150 billion opportunity for EMS manufacturing in India. So you can imagine the pace with which the EMS industry is growing. The growth is just exponential. It's just exploding because of so many opportunities in the domestic market as well as in the international market. The geopolitical situation we are talking now, but prior to this, the IP protection and, IP protection is the most important thing, I would say, that most of these European and American companies look at. When they spend so much of money on R&D and then they come up eventually with a product and then they manufacture it in a neighboring country in China, and then there is there is, some, I wouldn't say 100%, some companies do that, infringement of IP, and then, your product is sold in the gray market and things like that. So that actually started several years ago now, and people have understood more and more. And as Otto rightly said, it's a democratic country. We have a legal system, robust legal system in place. So your IP is protected. So these things actually started a few years ago. Adding to that, now, we have really grown in terms of infrastructure, in terms of our efficiency to produce and deliver on time quality products. Added to that, the IP protection, I think, and of course, engineering resources, English-speaking engineering resources. Communication is very, very easy here compared to other countries in the region. So these things have actually been extremely, I would say, helpful for this kind of exponential growth. Also, a lot of Indian companies are now going into AI and these data centers and then electric vehicles. Basically, these are the ones which are driving this kind of growth within India. And you see most of the foreign players, the who's who of the automotive industry in Europe and America, they are all in India setting up subsidiaries and manufacturing, because the Indian economy is also growing so much. And there is this one word they have coined called DINK, double income, no kids. So both husband and wife are working, and they adopt one or two good puppies. They have two doggies at home, and they spend pretty much whatever they earn. Because in my grandfather's time, traditionally, we were thinking if I earn $10, I should keep at least $3 or $4 for save for a rainy day. So that is no more. That is no more relevant. So these young kids, they have huge disposable incomes. They want the best of brands. So it is just.
So the domestic market grows.
The domestic market is exploding, and because of the IP, because of the enormous English-speaking talent available, so ease of business, a lot of these MNC companies are coming over to India and setting up shop here. Yeah. So it has opened up new frontiers for us, and
exciting
definitely time. By 2030, we are expecting 150 million.
Yeah, which is a phenomenal number, isn't it? More than 3x where you are now. The CAGR on that is really substantial. There's been a lot of attention to government schemes aimed at the electronic manufacturing industry and the manufacturing industry generally, PLI and similar initiatives. From your perspective on the ground, are they meaningful in practice, and are they shaping investment decisions you make?
PLI is a production-linked incentive which is given to the bare board manufacturers. So in other words, it is actually strengthening our supply chain, because we are even today heavily dependent on China for getting our bare PCBs. So that the government is now incentivizing by giving PLIs in India to manufacture the bare boards. So that is applicable for bare board manufacturers and the semiconductor components. If anybody is manufacturing some semiconductor components in India, they get this PLI. But we also, as an EMS company, get these what is called as incentives, because if we make a huge investment and they show results, we get about 40% of what we have invested. So we get it back in different slabs of what kind of exports we do. So there is a lot of these schemes which are available for manufacturers in India.
Yeah, and available to you. Otto, when you look at that from a group perspective, not just in India but elsewhere, do government incentives play a factor in where you choose to invest? And is the policy support a genuine differentiator?
No, in one way, of course, we look at it. But in India, as Murthy mentioned, the government has been extremely friendly towards foreign investment and so on. And there have been different schemes over the years that they have supported. And as Murthy said, that we, for example, when we have invested in our second and third factory, we have got significant sums back from the government and so through different schemes, and they continue. And also that Modi's government and so have been very strong on this made in India policy. And of course, for us, EMS companies, this is beautiful, because if we are established in the country and somebody wants to sell their technology, they need to make it in there. And us then as a listed company and reliable partner internationally, then of course we are a good choice for that. So India have been extremely how to say, investor friendly when it comes to industrial investment. I think there is elements of this in other countries as well, but here it's in India much how to say, more aggressive, these kind of schemes than we see in Europe or in US or UK. They're how to say, the schemes normally are in much smaller sums and much more targeted to something specific than them. So I think India is doing great, and also the tax system in India is they have now reduced the taxes on dividends, and then they have made it more lucrative to earn money in India and get it out in a proper way. And also what I really, when I talk to politicians in other countries that we are operating in, then I always talk about it's called a CSR system in is it so, Murthy? CSR,
CSR, corporate social responsibility.
Responsibility. So basically 2% out of your income taxes, or not income taxes, 2% out of the company's taxes, you actually are deciding over yourself. So you can support different projects. We have done supported different schools and medical centers and libraries and so, but there's a lot of different. Now lately was while we supported the wheelchair cricket tournament in I guess you Philip, you're also into cricket. You must understand how hard.
I'm English and Australian. I'm very much into cricket.
Exactly.
Okay.
But imagine wheelchair cricket. That is already a new level. But no, and I think that is really, because in many countries we talk about that how companies, especially if they are outside bigger communities and so, that their tax money disappear in that sense, and they can't support locally. And India have a brilliant system of enabling us as a company to support different projects in the local community that benefits our workers, of course, and their families, but also the environment generally that we operate in.
Yeah, and it represents the family approach of InCap, and it represents some of the, the issues that you're sensitive to and concerned about. That's a really nice strategy. Murthy, when you look at government policy, do you see any gaps? Are there anything you're concerned about that might hinder growth? Anything that the government really needs to be doing to make a difference to the ability of EMS to scale in India?
They are actually quite, I would say, proactive these days, and because we have to be self-sufficient, because our relationship is it's like blow hot, blow cold with China, and we have to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, because Otto also said about this Make in India campaign. So in order to successfully execute that, we need to be self-sufficient. So to encourage that, the government is doing its best. In fact, they have eased certain norms in FDI, foreign direct investment, and they are also in most of the states, including in Karnataka state where we are situated, there is something called as a single window clearance. That is under one single window, you get all the necessary approvals to set up a business. So the ease of doing business has definitely has improved, and there are a whole lot of things that they're doing. But still, having said that, there is still a lot of things. There are a lot of things that we need to improve. For example, infrastructure. There's been a lot of money pumped into infrastructure products. Say, let me take the most fundamental thing, like a road, to provide proper road access. So these are some of the things which are happening, but somewhere down the line, it's a vast country with 1.4 billion people. So somewhere you don't see some kind of bureaucracy is still there. So that is something which has to go. The red tapeism and bureaucracy are going, but there is a little bit of bureaucracy and red tapeism which needs to go. That I think the government is working towards that. So infrastructure development, I would say, is the key thing.
Yeah, it's
And
one.
of course, the second thing is that the delay in responding to the customers or the potential customers' requirements. For example, somebody from Europe wants to set up a huge manufacturing facility. There is always a competition between different states within India. So whosoever is more, I would say, aggressive, who is more proactive, and who responds to the queries easily would get that contract. But this has to overall improve I would say, because customer won't wait. Time to market is so essential, it's so critical. So we need to act fast. So apart from these things, I think things are going in the right direction,
They're in
and
good shape.
you see a lot of growth.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think when people see success, when other states see success, it'll accelerate that process as well. You mentioned China in there, and I'm curious what India can learn from China's experience. China's been in the World Trade Organization for 25 years this November. It's been an interesting 25 years. The next 25 years are not going to be anything like the last 25 years, so we can't compare like to like. Otto, when you look at that extraordinary electronic manufacturing base that China's built through deliberate industrial policy, and as someone that operates globally, what do you think's different about India that means they need a different playbook? Is it just that we're in different times, or is it different in terms of what the base is there? Democracy is one thing, clearly.
Yeah, no, I think we are in a little bit different times as well. But if you have a totalitarian state, then you can drive different kind of projects much quicker than in a democracy in that sense. And I think that India is slowly but surely you're catching up with China. It will take time, but it will. But you talked about what India can learn from China as well, and I think that we already see some results. China is as an economic superpower in that sense, has a voice in the world when it comes to the world economy, and so clearly a voice, and they have been able through different kind of trade turbulences and so show that as well, that they are not backing down towards US or other bigger partners. And what I really have liked to see as well is that India is doing the same. So if you look at now the latest tariff frictions here with the US, and so India didn't back down, because India is also more emerging global superpower in finance and in many areas. And okay, they're not in that highest league yet, but very close. And growing steadily, and I think that this is something that is nice to see, that India has a voice on the global markets, and the Indian voice is getting more and more more and more important in over time, and this is positive to see.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Murthy, when you look at it from your point of view, are there specific aspects of how China approach things like supply chain, like component ecosystems, like skills development, that you think India can learn from? For example, China seems to be doing incredibly well in the EV market. It's doing incredibly well in terms of the super high tech, like cell phone market. They learned that by contract manufacturing for companies like Tesla and for companies like Apple. Do you see those experiences as things that India can learn from and repeat?
The key difference between the two countries is that the engineering power is, I would say, pretty much the same, but the intent is different. See, for example, you gave the examples of Tesla and Apple. And when contract manufacturing happens in China for any of these giants, they parallelly have another team which would learn how to do this, and what are the nitty-gritties of doing a particular chipset or whatever. And then they have I would say their mindset is such that they would replicate that and then come out with their own product. In the bargain, they develop skill sets. They also develop another company which would make a little bit of changes to the original product and sell it as their own product outside, which is not possible in India, even though we do have the engineering talent. But copying a certain product, or trying to replicate, let me put it this way, replicate another product by making small changes is not permitted because of the very strict IP rules. But having said that, I'm not taking away anything from China. Let me be honest that they're head and shoulders above us in terms of infrastructure, in terms of their engineering muscle, in terms of the high tech things that they're manufacturing. So they're far above. That is again basically, as Otto rightly said, it has something to do with the authoritarian rule which was there for 25 years vis-a-vis a democratic rule that we have had throughout. So that makes a lot of difference, because in an authoritative rule, the autocratic person, the autocrat takes a decision. He says it has to be done like this. This is the vision for next 20 years, which cannot be done in a democracy. So these are some of the challenges. But we do have, India does have a lot of strengths. One is, thanks to the British, they left behind two very good things. One is English speaking skills, and the other one is cricket. So because of that, we are able to converse quite nicely with the rest of the world. And we have, as I said, abundant engineering talent, and now the intent to do something, prove everybody wrong, and do something valuable and build a nation. So the younger generation, I would say, is pumped up, and they want to do. And one more thing I would like to mention is that there is a reverse flow of these engineers who migrated to the United States and other Western countries to study and learn there. All of them are now coming back after spending 15, 20 years there. I see that trend more and more. I've seen plenty of them coming back because they have learned the tricks of trade there. They have seen the best of the world. They have seen both sides of the world. They want to do something in India because now the atmosphere is different. It is much more, I would say, business friendly. So it is easier, and it's much more easier to put a concept into some kind of a reality here, which was not there 25 years ago. So you're going to see more and more positive changes happening in this country.
Yeah, and that means access to venture capital, to private equity, and those kind of things. And we're seeing more and more of that. There's certainly an appetite. And when you look at the multiples for the EMS companies that are listed in India on the stock market, it's an industry that's clearly valued. Let's just bring it back to InCap specifically. You've recently completed some substantial investments, Murthy. Talk me through those and what the priorities were there, and what difference that's made on the shop floor there in your facility.
The recent investments in technology, I would say, because we bought an SMT line, a complete SMT line, which is actually, how different is it? It is different from the other SMT lines that we have, because this is an AI intelligence driven SMT line, which is a fast machine with a twin engine going all the way up to, I think, in excess of 100,000 components CPH per hour. That's the mounting. Plus, we also invested in another, I would say, a flying probe to give confidence to two of our customers, I would say, at this point in time, because as I said in the beginning, we onboarded two massive American giant customers. They're huge multi-billion conglomerates. So we are doing some cutting edge products for them, and the boards are absolutely dense. They're very, very complex boards, which we had not done so far, which has a lot of BGAs, micro BGAs, and a whole lot of components, and the boards are so dense that we have to have some kind of an instrument where we would actually test these because of the BGAs and micro BGAs, and also we are using a lot of ICT for in-circuit testers for our rest of the boards for our other customers. But in this case, the coverage is much more because of the density of the board and the complexity of the board. So I give you an example without naming the customer. A board which we are currently doing is 760 by 240 mm. 760 mm board, at least in InCap India, we had never handled before. So that is the reason why we invested in this kind of cutting edge technology, and it's paying off because we started with one or two business units, and as I said, these are massive customers, and the word of mouth publicity is so strong that they are talking among themselves. And now currently we are doing business with 6 BUs. We started with 2, so it's paying off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And I think what's fascinating, and it really underlines your point about it not being about low cost, Otto, is that when you see a facility there in India being so automated, being so focused on AI technology and digital transformation, it really underpins that. From your perspective, Otto, when you think about, I'm curious how you think about capital allocation across the different regions. It doesn't just play into where you see India, but it also plays into your kind of decentralized approach. And most of those capital decisions made by people like Murthy in the regions, and you're just looking at how that's distributed globally?
Of course, the local teams have much to say in what they want to invest in, and so and my role and role of the InCap's board, and so is more to facilitate these developments. But we believe strongly in organic growth, and we believe strongly in keeping investing in our different facilities. Because if we're going to produce the latest technology, we need the latest equipment as well. And there is no free rides. I know many smaller companies, they think that when their amortization on the machine is finished, and they have some kind of free production, but then you have probably invested too late. So there's always a machine cost, and so in the calculation, and I think that should be so. So no, we have been very fortunate with InCap. We have been able to earn a lot of money over the years in that sense, and we have invested that back into the growth. So we haven't been now in a situation where we need to do two tough choices on and have been able to do the investments all over. So we have new lines and equipment in all of our facilities. But I think this is a very much part of our core and to keep on doing. And also, like Murthy is describing, that if we have customers and the customer have a need to develop their business case, then we have been willing to share those investments and make that happen together with them. And I think this is also something that perhaps sets us aside. We are very strong financially, and we can cater to these kind of needs for our customers. So yeah.
Yeah, and that plays very much into what we spoke about recently, Otto, which is moving from M&A to a strong layer of organic growth. Having the right facilities, investing in those facilities, investing in the right equipment is key to that organic growth going forward. One area that you have been recognized in is the CWC award that you had. The supply chain and logistics is a hugely important part of what's going on in the market, with everything happening globally around supply chain, around tariffs, around component availability. How important is that to you specifically, Murthy, and to India? And how nice is it to be recognized as someone who's nailed that in the instance of the award you won?
Oh, well, this is something which is actually very, very good and very encouraging for us, because year after year, for more than a decade and a half, we are getting STPI awards for best exporter under the 2,000 crore Indian rupee category. That is for doing exports. And this is the first time we are getting for importing material. So that clearly says that it's not the quantity that we have imported in that financial year about roughly 53 million euro worth of material. But the documentation is absolutely flawless. That is something which our finance and, our logistics teams have ensured that, we have done zero mistakes in our documentation. We have paid all the necessary taxes wherever applicable. But usually for exports, we don't pay anything because we get the material in, we import it, and then we export it back. But in some cases, wherever it has to be paid, we have paid that. And it's been a very clean documentation. Added to that, 53 million euros that we have imported. I mean, this is, I would say, a feather in our cap, because first time we are receiving this from the government of India. And I can tell you, it's just the beginning. There will be many more in the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to talk about talent next, but we definitely talked about that at the top of the show, and I'm really impressed with the amount of available talent and the approach you're taking. Otto, when you talked on our recent interview, you talked a little bit about growth potentially elsewhere in Asia. It wasn't something you were writing off. Obviously, your flagship in Asia is the Indian facility, and it sounds like that will long continue to be the case, particularly with India on this growth. But what are you thinking about the relationship with the rest of Asia, with that India foothold?
No, as you saw, we did an organizational change. Murthy is now president over APAC in that sense, and
okay,
and we have our ambition is that we want to, of course, keep on growing organically. Organic growth is our main focus now, but in the long run, I think there is no secret that our ambition is bigger, and we want to also balance out the country risk of having our flagship in India, and then by adding on some other Asian countries in the portfolio, having facilities there, and that is something that we are of course looking at and working with. But of course, main focus to begin with is organically. We have great facilities where we are at, and in India and all over the world in that sense, and to get maximum utilization out of those is always a key driver, and very value creating for our shareholders as well. Organic growth is normally the best kind of growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Greatly appreciated by shareholders and customers alike. And Murthy, how exciting is it to actually be in charge of the whole APAC region rather than just the India region? That's a great opportunity for you personally as well, and a pat on the back.
Well, I would say it's surreal. Sometimes, when Otto told me, I was pinching myself. Am I dreaming, or is it really true? It's so surreal experience. But let me tell you something with my corporate management team, Otto especially. It's not because Otto is in the interview. I've said this a million times. I mean, the leadership that he has provided and the encouragement that he gives, and he's a big advocate of all of us, because in front of the investors, in front of the board, in front of the rest of the colleagues, he is the advocate who goes and defends us, and because he understands business back of his palm. So he's hands-on. So it is very easy for us to work with Otto, because he exactly knows what our requirements are, and the trust that we have built. We have been working together for almost 11, 12 years now, and we know each other so very well. And the trust element is very, very important. And I would say, it's just fantastic recognition, and it only gives us, these titles and these responsibilities come with a lot of baggage, I would say, a lot of more responsibilities. And it's not just the title, and it encourages me to work even harder and do things which are really that we are dreaming of. So I would say Vision 2030, something very big that we are envisaging, and I think we should be able to go there. We are in the right direction. And one thing I have to tell you before I conclude, is our decentralization model. I've spoken in various forums, and a big advocate of decentralization. So that empowers all the units and empowers managing directors like me to take decisions very fast. Because today's world is so dynamic and customers are so impatient time to market is extremely critical. So they don't want to wait if there are layers of hierarchy. I go with a proposal to my boss, he goes to his boss, then the 4 layers of hierarchy, and it takes several weeks to get back to the customers. That's completely cut off. We are a lean organization, totally decentralized. We know the ground reality. We are sitting in ground zero. We pretty much take all the decisions. We go to Otto. He understands, and then there it is. Next day we are with the customer. So the customer very much appreciates this value that that we are bringing to the table.
Yeah, and I think what's absolutely true. What's absolutely true there, Murthy, is that speed and agility totally trumps footprint. It is absolutely key. And if you can have that speed and agility as a result of decentralized business model, and you can do that at scale, I think it's very powerful. Otto, final thought from you. What would you want current and prospective customers in India to understand about InCap's commitment to the operation there?
No, I think come and visit us. Seeing is believing, and I think that is the key thing, because once you're there, you understand what we are all about. You will see other customers. We have other customer engineers working in our facility all the time, almost 24/7, and we grant them access. We support them with our engineering power and experts, and so seeing is believing. Come and visit and see for yourself, and I'm quite sure that these companies will find the InCap as a very suitable partner for their projects in that sense.
Yeah. And Murthy, a delight to take people around, show them the factory. From your point of view on the ground, what do you want them to take away when they have visited you?
There's, because as Otto beautifully put it, seeing is believing. When they visit our facility, when they see how different are we from others, because we don't go and advertise saying that we are different from others. It is there for them to see the difference. And, when the customer, recently, I wouldn't name the customer, but one of the customers recently said, you are much better than XXX, some other company. And that was very, very valuable for us. And he just said, a matter of fact, he said that, he was not trying to impress us or anything. It just spontaneously came out of him. And, these are some of the things that the customers feel. Of course, we are also, all ears for constructive criticism when they give us some good ideas, because they keep visiting a lot of, we never say we are the best. We are always open for learning, and we are quick learners. So when the customers come and say, you're very good, but you can improve in this area, it could have been done better than this. We take this feedback very well. That's a very valuable feedback. We take it pretty seriously, and we implement that immediately. So when the customer visits us the next time, he will see that we have taken it seriously, and we have implemented that. So this is the key. And most of the customers, most of the customers have felt this. This is something to be felt, not told. So they feel it. They feel the difference.
Yeah. No,
you should visit us, Philip. As Otto said, it would be a great pleasure to host you here.
Yeah, so I would love to do that.
My only advice is spend at least 1.5 days, because we have 3 facilities. We'll take you and show you everything in detail. I'm pretty much sure you would appreciate that.
Yeah, and we will check out your cricket skills as well.
Well, I was going to say we have to have a knock up between the stumps. I'm a half decent batsman and a pretty good slip fielder, Murthy. So I'm sure you can find a spot for me, and we can we can have a hit. I learned to play cricket at English grammar school, so you can see where my background comes from. But exciting times within InCap, exciting times indeed within India. Thanks so much for your insight, both on the company and what's going on there. I really appreciate your time. We've spent a lot of time together today, and it's been hugely valuable. We'll chat again soon. Thanks, Murthy. Thank you, Otto, again.
Yes, thank you
so much. Such a pleasure.